Good afternoon, everybody. This is Joseph Land, and welcome to my show today on December the 19th, 2022. And it's great to have everybody on today. We got a good group on today, and there'll be many more listening to the recording. And, I was just amazed, listening to Tom Henderson talk a little bit earlier. But isn't it amazing that Christmas is really about the celebration of Christ's birth? And it's so commercialized. And, and we've have fallen into that trap in our life. And so this year, we've taken a different approach, and it's just so refreshing. And, when you do that, you can look at all the lights that everybody has up and all that. And that's the celebration of Christ's birth. That's why they put up lights and all of that. It's not to make their house look pretty and all that. That's part of it too. But it's just keeping the main thing. The main thing, I think, is where I am for this Christmas, and just focusing on what is really important. I want to tell y'all, and I want to share this with you because it's so important. Life is so short. Life is such a vapor. I've lost 8 friends this year in 2022. 8 friends. And I want to tell you that I don't think any of them thought that they wouldn't be here for Christmas. And just last week, I lost a longtime friend, and he'd been really sick. And so you never know. And I've lost friends that one day they were here and the next day they were gone. And so just my message to you to be thankful, just to be thankful for each day we're given, and thank the Lord for each day that we've been given, and just celebrate that day. And, remember what I've taught you guys is the way I wake up and go to bed is, number one, I just praise God for the day. Number two, I'm full of thanksgiving for the blessings of the day. And that doesn't mean a new car or anything like that. It just means, the provision that God has given me for the day, the food and the shelter and the clothing or whatever, just the little things. And then, the being grateful is the third thing. I'm just so grateful to be alive in this time in history. When I hear people saying, oh gosh, can you believe the tough world we're living in today? I'm thinking, gosh, I'm just grateful that God chose to have me alive at this time in history so I can make a difference, right? So I think that's the way to approach that. And then the fourth thing is, hey, Lord, I just trust you for the day. I just trust you for this day. And I know that you got things handled, and I'm going to have to walk through it today, but I'm asking you to walk through it with me and to keep me focused on the main thing. And usually when I do that every day, and when I do that when I go to bed, things always tend to work out. Isn't that cool? So I want to talk to you about a subject today that we're going to have some fun with, and it's entitled "Ducks versus Eagles." Ducks versus Eagles. And have you ever heard this analogy before? Has anybody ever heard this analogy before? Anybody? And so in my companies, we talk about ducks versus eagles. And sometimes we will be in a meeting, and after the meeting, a new person will make some quacking remarks, and the old guard will say, that was definitely a duck, And so the difference between ducks and eagles is ducks waddle around quacking about everything, waiting on someone to feed them. And eagles soar above everything, and they eat what they kill. Pretty cool, isn't it? Eagles take care of their family. They take care of their own. And sometimes it's lonely being an eagle. But eagles are a special breed, and they focus on taking care of themselves instead of being dependent on somebody else to take care of them. Pretty cool, isn't it? And it's bred in them. And I believe that when we compare that to humans, that you look in an office situation, sometimes you see people standing around the coffee maker or the water machine, and they're complaining and quacking about everything. and life is unfair and all that. You know, life is what you make it. And then there are those who make a difference, that are just like the silent warriors who are out there trying to make a difference, not only in their lives, but in other people's lives. Can anybody relate to what I'm saying here? Anybody have any comments about it? Dawn, how about you?
I agree with that 1000%. Not caring what other people think and just caring what God thinks can really get you on that path. Trusting in God will keep you on that path. And I totally agree that we need to first take care of ourselves, heal ourselves, support ourselves, and then we can be a blessing to others.
Absolutely.
It's tough to be a
Absolutely.
blessing to others if you're struggling inside and you can't even be a blessing to yourself. So
That's exactly right.
yeah.
That's exactly right. Anybody else? Karen?
Hi, everybody. This is such a great analogy. I've never heard that before. And I am college trained. I went to Smith College in the North. I was
Yes.
up to get in on a scholarship, full scholarship of that. It was a beautiful experience. And out of that, I just became a more intellectually sounding duck.
Yeah.
And I was very articulate with my duck quacks. And people would say, "Oh, you're so right." And I got a lot of juice out of that, you know. And because I was so articulate, I could actually pinpoint what was wrong. And they said, "Oh yeah, you're kidding. I never thought about that." Well, I just want you to know that I am trans, and that never did anything. There was no result out of that. Nothing good ever came from that, except sort of a false bonding with people. And
right.
so I am so grateful. I'm transitioning to an eagle. And I used to think that because I was a woman in this society, it just wasn't exactly fair and I'd have to accept lesser. But now I know that's not true. I'm an eagle and I'm practicing to be an eagle. And I'm so grateful. I love this analogy. Thank you, Joseph.
Well, let me tell you, as a father of daughters, I am going to put that to rest right now, forever and always. Man, I love it when women are successful. And some of the most successful people that I mentor are women. And there's a couple of them on this call. Shane Forbes is on this call. A couple of them on this call. And so what I want to tell you is when my girls were little, I told them that there was no glass ceiling, and I taught them to breathe fire. And hey, doesn't matter who's where. And you know, one of the things that I learned from playing baseball was, if you want to quack and carry on, go right ahead, but somebody else is going to take your job and you're going to be sitting on the bench, right? And that's the reality of when you get paid to play. You know, you either you either fight for what you want and be an eagle, or somebody else is going to take your job. And I think we can apply a lot of that to, you know, corporate America today, because who wants to hear somebody quacking all the time? You know, have you ever been around somebody in a workplace and you just can't wait to get out of their presence because everything is quacking, right? Yeah. And who wants to be around that? But when you're around somebody who's got that I can do attitude, and I can do it, and I am on it, and hey, gosh, you know, let's do it, guys, you know, and team approach. It's so refreshing, isn't it? How about you, Tony Fightmaster? I know you deal with a lot of people, and it's awesome to see you today.
Oh, Joe, it's so good to be here. And I love that the Ducks and the Eagles analogy. And I really appreciated what Karen just said there about false bonding with the Quackers. You know, I've been working in academia for I'm in my fourth decade, And there's quackers in academia, Joe. But you know, one of the things that I've learned is that okay, yeah, we have challenges, we have hurdles. Bring, you know, we don't close our eyes. We bring the problems, we bring the challenges to the table, but don't bring the challenge to the table unless you bring some solutions.
Yes.
I tell my VP all the time, I want to be a part of the solution, not of the problem, you know. And so, you know, when we're solution oriented and we're focused on finding a way, you know, back during my college days when I had my summer job selling books door to door, what they taught us was there's two kinds of people in this world: those who make excuses and those who find a way. And maybe that's a little limited perspective, but for the most part in my life, that's pretty much what I've seen. There's two kinds of people in this world: those who make excuses and those who find a way.
That's right. That's right. If you want something bad enough, you'll find a way to do it. But if you don't want it bad enough, you'll find an excuse not to do it. It's the truth. And playing sports and business, whatever you want to apply it to, that's the way it works.
Mhm.
I want to tell you guys a story, and then I want you to determine after this phone call today if you're a duck or an eagle, and if you've been quacking, what you going to do about it. Don't tell me. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to ever embarrass anybody by asking you, are you a duck or an eagle? I'm going to tell you flat-footed, I'm an eagle. You know, you can just count on me being an eagle. I'm going to eat what I kill, right? That's the way I've always had to operate on my life. I am unemployable. Nobody will hire me. I am totally unemployable. I have a mindset that I want to own the company instead of work for the company. All right. So I'm going to clear the air. But the one thing that I want to tell y'all about is the story. And I think this makes so much sense. I want you to really hear this, and I want you to meditate on this. But Dawn, let me ask you a question. I want to lean on you a minute before we get started. Have you ever taken a cab in New York City?
Not alone, as a group. So I don't know.
Well, what was your experience? Was the driver courteous? Was the driver?
No,
Yeah.
no, just very quick, get in, where you going. It was pretty impersonal.
Yeah. How about you, Eleanor? You're muted.
No, the cab drivers were not courteous, and there was a big rush. You know, I haven't lived in New York for many, many years, but when I did, I took cabs all the time. And, you know, first there was the rush to grab a cab, and you had to be really fast. And then you'd get in, and there was really no conversation. I
Yeah.
always kept it impersonal.
Yeah, exactly. Me too. How about you, Shane?
You know, when I get in a cab, whether it's in New York or Atlanta, anywhere, I just always strike up a conversation with the cabbie, because generally I think they like to talk and know what's going on. And it's usually, more often than not, really engaging and interesting. I look forward to it.
All right. When I get in a cab, usually the cab is filthy or not clean, not well appointed. Usually the driver just wants to get my fee and get me out of the car, and, you know, doesn't want to really have any meaningful conversation. And so after doing that a few times, I would just, I would try to order a limousine or a business kind of car from a limousine company because of that kind of experience. But let me tell y'all a story. You know, people remember stories, and this is about ducks versus eagles. And there was a guy named Harvey, and he was a national speaker, and he would fly all around to different places and to different airports. And so he flew into this airport one time, and he was standing by the curb looking for a taxi, and he was waiting to get a ride to his hotel. And then all of a sudden, up comes a cab, and out jumps the driver. The driver was smartly dressed in a freshly pressed pair of slacks, a nice shirt, and a black tie. The cab was spotless. The cab was clean as a whistle. And the cab driver jumped out of the cab, rounded the car to open the door for Harvey. And so he got him in, put his luggage in the back, and he handed him a laminated card as he was closing the door and said, my name is Wally. I'm your driver today. And while I'm loading your bags, I'd like for you to read my mission statement. Anybody ever had that experience? Taken back by the driver, Harvey read the card. And here's what Wally's mission statement said. It said this. It says, to get my customers to their destination in the quickest, safest, and cheapest way possible in a friendly environment. Pretty cool, isn't it?
Mhm.
So this blew Harvey away. And especially when he noticed inside the cab that it matched the outside and it was spotlessly clean. And as the driver, Wally, got behind the wheel, he said to Harvey, he said, would you like a cup of coffee? I have a thermos of decaf and a thermos of regular coffee. And Harvey half jokingly said, no, thanks. I don't do coffee. I prefer soft drinks. Wally smiled and said, great, no problem. He says, I have a cooler up front with regular Diet Coke or regular Coke or Diet Coke, and I have water and orange juice if you prefer. How cool is that? Anybody had that experience? Almost stuttering, Harvey said, I'll take a Diet Coke. Isn't that cool? And so handing him the drink while he said, if you'd like something to read, I also have the Wall Street Journal. I have Time. I have Sports Illustrated and USA Today. As they were pulling away, Wally handed my friend another laminated card. And on the card, it says, I would like to play the music you would like. Here are the stations that you can listen to while you ride with me. Whichever you prefer, I will make it happen. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Is that service? And if that wasn't enough, Wally said to my friend, he says, now, is the temperature right? Are you warm enough or cool enough? I'd like to make the temperature right for you, as they pulled off. So the driver was so amazing. Wally was so amazing that Harvey said, Wally, tell me, have you always served your customers like this? And Wally said, well, he says, you know, I read a book one time that changed my life, and I listened to the Joseph Land show. And it changed my life. Okay, I'm just throwing that in. And he says, you know, I listened to Wayne Dwyer, and Wayne Dwyer said, you know, stop complaining. Differentiate yourself from the competition. He said, don't be a duck. Stop quacking, be an eagle. Ducks quack and complain. Eagles soar above the crowd. He said, it's your decision if you want to become successful. And he said, Wally, he said, that's amazing. And Wally said, you know, when I read what Wayne Dyer said, it changed my life. And he said, what I did was I started changing my attitude a little bit at a time. He said, I decided that I would dress better. I decided I would look better. I decided I would be more courteous. And he says, you are actually, he said, I looked around at the cabs of the other drivers. He said they were filthy dirty. The drivers were unfriendly. They were unhappy people. So I decided to make some changes in my life. I put a few at a time, and my customers responded well. I started putting in more. He says, as a matter of fact, you're lucky to get me to service you today, because most of my customers now call me directly and ask me to be waiting for them when they come into the airport. He says, you see, I don't have to hope people ride in my cab anymore because of me changing my habits and becoming an eagle. I have people that are calling me wanting my service. And Wally was phenomenal. He was really running a limousine service out of a taxi. That's what he was doing. And he took an idea that would make him better, and he just ran with it. And so many times we get comfortable with what we're doing. We want more out of life, and we're not willing to give more in order to get more. And life is about giving more of yourself to get more of what you want. And so Wally, the cab driver, made a difference, and he made a different choice. He started to look better. He started to have a clean cab. He started to have papers, as I discussed, in his cab, and drinks for his clients. And what became a poor experience to most people became a wonderful experience riding with Wally. Isn't that cool? And so what is the experience that people have with you when they meet you? What is the experience that people have with me when they talk with me on the phone? What do I leave them with when they hang up? What is the takeaway? When they talk to me on the phone, what is the takeaway? Right? And when they talk to you, what is the takeaway? And so I want to give you a couple of things as you ask yourself, am I an eagle or a duck? I want to give you some of the things that I think you ought to take away from this. Success. No, here's number one. Success requires a conscious, purposeful choice. You see, Wally made a conscious, purposeful choice of having a clean cab, inside and out, dressing for success, looking the part, being courteous, jumping out of the cab to open the door. He made a concerted effort to be the best he could be. Having coffee, having things, just the little things. Number two, to improve yourself in life, do what you can do on what I call a JMA, a just manageable amount. What can you manage to improve today in your life? And you see, as Wally received feedback for the changes he was making in his cab, he started making more improvements, and it just made him better and better. And then he became independent. He didn't need the cab business getting him business. People were knocking at his door all the time. People wanted his service. All right. Number three, physical presentation matters. Do you think when Wally jumped out of the car to open the door for Harvey, and he had a nice clean shirt and a tie on and a fresh pair of freshly pressed slacks, do you think that was noticed by Harvey? Of course, that's the first thing he noticed. Wow, this is different. Never had this experience in a taxi before, right? And so physical presentation matters. And you can't judge a book by the cover. I understand that. But looking the part and being the part and taking pride in how you look goes a long way, and people notice. They really do. They really do. And so differentiate yourself. Number four, differentiate yourself through your attitude and your action. If you're one of those people who says, oh gosh, nothing good ever happened to me, you're just really speaking that on yourself, right? I don't want to hear it. If you tell me, I know there's a blessing somewhere in this pile of horse manure. I know there's got to be a pony here somewhere. I'm with you. I'm gonna shovel till I find a pony, right? So I wanted you guys to know that. And then the other thing is why be ordinary when you can be extraordinary? Write that down. Why be ordinary when you can be extraordinary? And the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is a little extra. You see, Wally was willing to do a little extra. When most people are just going through the motions, quacking, complaining about the weather. I'll get in my cab and let me complain about the weather. Let me complain about the traffic. Let me complain about everything, as opposed to getting in Wally's cab and he's giving first class service at the same price, you know? And then the other thing is, the last thing is so carefully, because you reap what you sow. So carefully. When we use our talents and abilities to serve others, we draw or attract good things back to us in our life. Bottom line, you try it. It's an absolute bottom line. And my wife and I have we have a system where we check each other. You know, if something confronts us, we just said, you know, we're just going to trust God, and we'll reinforce each other's beliefs of how we want to be. And no matter who you are, you know, when something difficult comes your way, you can either quack or you can have somebody reminding you that you're an eagle, right? Our temperature, our weather here where we are for Christmas in North Carolina, you know, we're going to have 4 or 5 days of really cold weather, you know, 16, 18, 19 degrees at night and, you know, 30s in the daytime. For some of you, that's not too cold. But here it's pretty cold. And, you know, we either complain about that and we say, gosh, thank you, Lord, that we're going to have some really Christmas weather for Christmas, right? And so that's how we're seeing it, man. We can build a fire and we can do some really cool things that you can't do when you're sweating, right? So we're excited about it. And, you know, we just choose to be eagles about the weather too. And so I hope this is helpful to you guys. Has anybody ever had any of those experiences that I'm calling out today? Anybody I want to hear some of your feedback now about this. Tom Armour.
Hey, Joe. Yeah, I came into encounters that way. Matter of fact, in New York, there used to be a guy that shined shoes, and he was more of a counselor, I think, than anything else. All the business people would talk to him, and you know, you'd look for him to be there so you could go sit down and talk to him. And he was above everybody else, and he came with a little briefcase, and he set himself up, and you know, he was there to do business, and he was there to be a counselor, and he was one step above. And you're right. No matter what you do it with pride. A little bit more is just that. Just do a little bit more than everybody else.
That's right. That's exactly right. Anybody else? Anybody else have any comments? Anybody have any questions? Eleanor?
I have a comment.
Should I talk or did somebody else want to talk?
No, go right ahead.
Okay. I realized that I'm an eagle out of necessity because growing up, I was very much on my own from the time I was about 16. And when I finished my degree, when I was working on my degree, I had been teaching and I couldn't do it. I couldn't ever have a job where I had to comply with a system. So not knowing that people didn't go into private practice, I opened an office. And it required that I did things differently than other people in order to be successful. And I did something that wasn't highly accepted when I realized that I needed to move from Chicago to California. I decided to work at home, out of a home office. So my clients, I'm a psychologist, could see that I was living the way I was telling them it was possible to live. And so I encouraged all of my clients to be eagles. And it was fun. It is fun.
That's
And
wonderful.
I'm still doing it.
Good for you. Proud of you. That's a great comment. Tom Henderson, how about you?
It just,
Comment?
yeah, the subject is kind of neat. My pastor at church did a sermon on ducks about 2 years ago, I remember, since you brought this up. And he was talking about Christians on Sunday getting up and the ducks wobbling out of the home, wobbling down the street and wobbling into church. And the preacher telling them they got wings and they can fly and they can do this and they can do that and go out and reach other people and you can soar with the eagles and you're a duck. And he said, the sad thing about it, he says, too many Christians, when they walk out the church, he said, instead of flying, they wobble back home again. And then, you know, it just, you can fly and be with the eagles, but so many times we've been brainwashed. I was just thinking about a gentleman by the name of Roger Bannister, you know, with the Eagles. And it's a what you think, a man, you know, as you think you become or whatever. Roger Bannister was the first man in the world to ever break a 4-minute mile. And then within a few months later, you know, it was becoming more normal for people to do it. And I think we're just brainwashed sometimes to be ducks. And I think our school system today with our young people and everything, conformity is, they're being taught to be conformity and be ducks instead of being eagles. It's, if you're an eagle and stick your head up, people want to shoot at you. So.
Yeah, you know, it's so important. I want you guys to all remember, it's so important what we say.
Yeah.
Words are powerful. Let me give you an example. I was reading yesterday morning, my devotionals about a minister, European minister, George, I think it was George Brainerd, and he was going to an event in Nova Scotia on a ship. He was traveling as a passenger on a ship, and the fog was really bad. And he came up into the captain's quarters, asked for permission, and came up into the captain's quarters and said, "Captain, I have an event that I have to be at in 4 days." And he says, "I've never missed an event." And the captain says, "Well, sir," he says, "I'm sorry, and I know you're an amazing man of God, but that's just not possible. There's no way we can get there. This fog is just so bad that I'm afraid to, you know, hardly creep along." And the old minister looked at him. He said, well, Captain, do you mind if I pray?" And he said, "Of course." And so the old man got down on his knees in the captain's quarters of the ship, as in the big wheelhouse. And the captain, of course, got down on his knees beside him, and the old minister prayed. And just about the time he was finishing, the captain said, "Well, I'll pray too." And the minister said, "No, you don't believe, but my God has answered my prayer, and we will be there in 4 days." Sure enough, the fog lifted. They were there, and the ship made it there on time. And the captain said, I will never forget that experience, because that man had so much faith. He knew God was going to clear that fog so that ship would be in port in time for to do his ministry event. And that's exactly what happened. And he went on to say, and he plainly told me not to pray because I didn't have faith to believe it. And so I tell you that story to say, so many times, there's a book called Hung by the Tongue. So many times we stop our blessing by what we say. And so don't stop your blessing by what you say, right? Speak it, or keep your mouth shut. Don't speak the negative. Don't speak what you don't want, right? So everybody with me on that? Rachel, how are you doing today?
I am doing fantastic.
Can you talk to me about ducks and eagles? You're in the insurance business.
So, yes, I absolutely can.
All right.
All right. I apologize. I interrupted you.
No, tell me.
All right. My thought comes across as a female insurance business owner. That's not something that's widely enjoyed in the insurance industry. So you get a lot of ducks right off the bat that way. But I don't really want to talk about those ducks. I want to talk about the ducks that I come across day to day in my clients. Just individuals that have been broken down from day one in a system that doesn't take care of people. Over and over and over again. I have clientele that ranges from Social Security to large corporate business owners. And it doesn't matter which position it is. Each individual that I've come across, it's very rare to come across somebody that has a complete ego mindset, no matter what walk in life they are. And to just enjoy them where they're at and to show them just a little bit of love and give them a sentence or two of hope that they could maybe grasp onto and ask more questions, that just helps people become eagles. So when you have a client call you, like I've had 5-6 times after we're done putting together a policy, because he's more of a duck than an eagle, and not being able to remember things or feel the timeline out and know what's going on. Well, let's stop being the duck. Just a little bit of empowerment, and hey, why don't I send this by text to you so you have it right there in front of you so you can remember it at all times. Okay, that's wonderful, so that's my take on helping people out of a duckhood into an eagle mindset.
Yes, and people, sometimes you have to take a deep breath and stop and be patient with people, And here's what I always say to someone when I'm trying to give them an aha moment. I say, John, if I could tell you something that would help you, would you want me to tell you?
I
Pretty
just
cool.
came back on. I just came back on. For some reason, my internet cut out. I'm blaming it on the 5 degrees weather right now.
That's all right. And so what I would say to someone, if I wanted to teach them something that I have learned, I would say, John, if I could tell you something that would help you, would you want me to tell you? And then they're giving me permission to tell them what I want to say to them. And I usually do it in a story form, like I just gave you the story about Wally and Harvey, right? And people remember stories when they don't remember anything else. If I'm going to talk to you about your financial statement, I'm usually going to tell you a story about some other business that I'm involved in that relates to your statement and how you can improve it or better it, or how proud I am of you for where you are with it. It's so important when you talk to people about things in the right way, because they remember, and you want people to remember, the good things that you tell them. Anybody have any more questions about this for me? Anybody have any questions? Dawn?
It's more of just adding, when we interact with people with our words or by the way we're dressed, there's also a subtle energy that's coming through that other people read. So that person that was, dressing up and being courteous to his customers, it was coming from a place that was genuine, or he wouldn't have gotten the feedback that he did, because a soul recognizes another soul's good intentions. And so he was really putting that out there, and that's really what was gaining him. This all adds to it, absolutely, because that's that visual. But when we're giving of ourselves and it's coming from a genuine place, it comes back to us.
Yes.
And Dr. Wayne Dyer, who you mentioned, said karma, when someone does something to you, that's their karma. How you respond is yours. And karma is not necessarily an action. It's an intention.
Mm-hmm.
If someone was attacking you and unfortunately you had to, save yourself and you had to kill that person, you didn't want to, but you had to save your life, there's no karma on
Yes.
that person, because it's your intentions.
Yes.
Intentions are everything. It's that invisible force that we also give out of how much we care. When some people don't care about how they look or about their job, or they don't want to be there, it comes right out of them. And the message is loud and clear.
Sure does. It sure does. That's beautifully said. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Somebody raise their hand. Shane, go ahead. You're muted.
Yeah, am I still muted?
No, you're good. You're good.
So when I was being trained as a health kinesiologist, there was a motto that our teacher had for the whole training, and it was, "There's always a way. There's always a way," which ties in with, with God, all things are possible. But not just the motto, but the way of the teaching of health kinesiology, which is a health modality, involves unblocking energies and meridians and on all levels. If one thing's not working, then you just try again and you try something else. And I think that's a great guidepost for any endeavor that you're in. Just to always remember and to think there's always a way.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. There's always a way. Anybody else have any questions? Anybody else have any comments? Karen?
I'm sorry, I missed number 2 on your list. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, number 2 was, let me look at my notes. Improve your life, yourself or your life. Do just manageable amounts and just manageable amounts. JMA. You're not going to do today everything in one hour, one day, whatever. It's called the art of constant improvement. I am constantly looking at a way to improve my game. Right? I relate it to playing baseball. I'd be in a batting cage, hitting balls, hitting more balls, hitting a curveball till I could get better at hitting it. Whatever. I'm constantly, and in business, I apply all that to my personal life and my business. I am constantly looking at ways to improve myself. If you were JP Morgan Chase Bank and I did a Zoom with you today and I wanted to borrow $10 million for JL Capital, and I had all the credentials to back up getting the loan. If I got on here with a wife beater tank top on and hadn't shaved in 10 days and my hair was not combed and I had poor etiquette, you think JP Morgan would give me a loan? Heck no. They want to deal with people they think are professional and moving ahead and they want to be successful. And then we need to ask ourselves, well, how am I being perceived in my business? How am I being perceived by others that are meaningful to my being successful? That's always the question I ask myself. So when you're conscientious about your presentation and how you present yourself in your business will improve. It really will, every time. And so I'm really, let me see if I want to say this another way. With our brand and our training, I have a wait list of people who want me to mentor them, and I can't do it. I don't have the spots. And so that's why I created our online brand. And that's why we created our mentoring session online for people to be able to get the same information and get me once in a while. And so when I look at that, I'm thinking, gosh, I can teach multitudes of people with the same information if they're willing to be students. And the old saying is, when the student is ready, the teacher always appears. And so that's what I'm trying to do with our mentoring program. And so we will have all the things available to people to sign up and do. I had somebody on this call last week, and then he sent me a message and, how do I get on your mentoring program? Well, here's the link. You know, here's how you do it. Here's how you do it. And so it's really cool to see even people from all over the globe who are hungry to be successful. And I'm going to tell you guys, in our country, we've had a lot of advantages for a lot of years. You know, there are other people in other countries that don't have those same advantages. I mentor a young man who's a currency trader, and he lives in Ethiopia. You hear that? And he messages me every day by WhatsApp to tell me what his positions are. And so when I wake up in the morning, I can tell I already got a message from him. And so he's on it. But if you looked at him, he is a beautiful young man, well-dressed, just wanting to get ahead in life. He reminds me of Wally, right? And so listen, we have a lot of advantages, but the thing we need to ask ourselves in this country, will it always be this way? What are we doing to make it better? What are we doing to serve others and improve others people's lives, to help them see that we have the greatest opportunity in the world by living in the country that we were happened to be born in? You see what I'm saying? And so I take nothing for granted, because when you grow up in a family and you don't have a house, that the mill gives you a house to live in, and your father works in the mill and your mother's a homemaker, and you don't have that much, but you really don't know it because you don't know any different. When you get older and you start to see and recognize how other people live because of whatever advantages they've had, you want to give those same advantages to your family. Right? Have you ever heard any mom or dad say, gosh, I want to make my children's life better when they get to my age? Have you ever heard a mom and dad say, oh gosh, I want to make my children's life worse when they get my age? No, you know, everybody wants their kids to have something better than what they had. And so I ask you, will it always be that way in this country? Not if we aren't serving and loving each other and caring for each other and trying to help one another. People today say, have you ever seen such a time where you get canceled if you have a different opinion than someone else? I said, I don't ever get canceled. And especially in my mind, I never get canceled, because I've learned one thing. I've learned that what you believe, you can never be offended by what somebody else believes if you're secure in what you believe. And so I want to hear other people's opinions, and I want to hear them out. And I want to say, gosh, I never thought about it that way. But here's the way, would you mind me sharing how I think? And when I do it that way, people are always able to listen to what I think. Now the end result is we might not agree, but we have agreed to show each other the dignity and respect to allow each other to voice our opinion. And when you're able to do that and serve people, you're able to make a difference in them. I had someone who was adamantly opposed to my belief 6 months later come to me and say, I want to apologize to you. You were such a gentleman to me. You were so kind and nice to me. You listened to me talk about something I wasn't even sure of myself, but you honored listening to me. And he said, you know what, you were right and I was wrong. And you changed my life that day, and you don't even know it. I just wanted to tell you. Buddy, that's a reward from above, right? When you have that experience. And I've had that happen to me a couple times, because I'm going to hear people out. And when I get to the point where I've done all I can do, I have moved on, right? And that's what you need to do. So being an eagle, you take that position in your life and you soar, and you're kind to the people who don't have the same opinions that you do. But you don't waver from what you're called to do. That's being an eagle. And so I'm really excited about all the people that I've met on the show and been been introduced to by this show and people from all over the world who listen to this recording. It's just so rewarding to me to see the growth in the people that I've come to love and know. And so I'm thankful for this. I've had some of my friends in the financial world say, why in the world are you doing a show at noontime on Monday and taking away your time? Monday's a busy day. Why don't you get after business? I say, well, because this is my calling. I want to be a blessing to people, and there's never a comeback. When you say this is my calling and I want to be a blessing to others, there's never a comeback, but sooner or later there will be. Maybe it'll touch them. Anybody else have any comments about ducks versus eagles? And I'm not going to ask you if you were a duck or an eagle. I'm just going to tell you, you need to be in a constant state of self-examination and improvement.
Exactly.
Just like I am. Tony Fightmaster, I know you have met with a lot of different people in your lifetime in the college environment and doing development and raising money for the college. Do you have any comments?
You know, what keeps coming to my mind, Joe, is, there's this conscious decision that you're going to saturate. Well, for me, when I was 19 years old and I began to be exposed to your kind of thinking, Joe, and I read books by Og Mandino and, one writer after the other. And then I began to hang around people like you that exuded this type of thinking, this type of living. It was a conscious effort for me. I began to read every day. I began to speak what I wanted and was expecting rather than talking about what I was afraid of. And all those kinds of small steps that began to take place. And then there came a point in time in my life, and it's happened over and over, where I was surprised by people's reaction to me because they pointed something out that I thought I was just normal, but they pointed out that I was, I had a positive attitude, or that this, and I wasn't thinking that way. I was just thinking, this is the way you live. This is, you speak your goals, you speak your vision. Yeah, there's hurdles, there's challenges. We could all focus in and tell our stories about our challenges. My dad died when I was, in high school. And what came to my mind at that time, because I'd been saturating my mind with scripture since I was 12, what came to my mind at that time was Romans 8:28 from the Apostle Paul saying, hey, and we know that all things work together for the good of those who love God and are called, who are the called according to his purpose. And so in my mind at 17, I could not figure out any good thing that would come out of my dad dying, but I believed God.
Amen.
And within a matter of months and years, I began to see good things that happened. I saw my mother blossom. Oh my word. My mother exploded her business after my dad passed away. It wouldn't have happened if my dad was alive. My dad was more controlling, but my mother became an eagle.
Yeah, that's right.
And so a lot of these things you're talking about, I think we begin to exude it and live that way, and we don't even realize it, but we've begun to saturate our minds with the right things. And I still have the habits today. This morning I was reading, before I got to office here. And so anyway, there comes a point in time where it's natural, and that's what you are. I was thinking here also, thinking about you and my vice president, Dr. Allen, both of you guys. When I'm with you, I'm going to school on how you interact with people.
Thank you.
You blow me away, Joe. And my vice president is, I'm so blessed. The man that I work with here, he's that way. I mean, he's always blessing people with the way he treats them. And, I'm still learning. I'm still growing, still learning.
Great.
It's a journey, but at any rate, there comes a point in time where you are who you are, and it's, people notice it even when you're not even thinking that way.
Yes. Thank you, Tony. And Tony, you exude all those qualities I'm speaking of. I mean, I see that in you all the time. Andrea, how you doing? Andrea, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you all?
I want you to, there's some new women on this call today.
Okay.
Business women. I want you to tell everybody what you're doing. I'm keeping close tabs on you, and you are a total eagle. I want you to tell people what you're doing.
Hi. I'm here in Jupiter, Florida. I'm originally from New York City, and I'm working on a women's line of lingerie, but it's for all shapes and sizes, colors. But it's mostly to empower women who feel that they're not, especially women who have trauma or who have been through trauma or abuse, who've been through all that, and they don't feel like they're beautiful. And I feel like beauty is really inner beauty exuding to the outer, right? That's the energy you're exuding. So I feel like I want to take that back and give women power back. I mean, you've always had the power, but some of them are not aware of it. So I feel like I'm really passionate about this business and about turning pain into beauty. And I feel like I want to help women with that.
Amen.
So that's what I'm working on.
Amen. You're doing great. And you also work a job and you're building a business, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. So that's what it takes when you want to, and sooner or later, her business will eliminate her job. You get that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the way. I mean, I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. And I wanted to, I really enjoyed listening to everyone here. And I wanted, regarding the Eagle, I was at a conference over the weekend, and actually all last week and the weekend, and someone said that you need to, we all say, oh, be there for you 24/7. I'll do this and this and that. Everybody's doing that. So what separates you from everybody, from Tom, Dick, and Harry? What is it willing to take for you to, be separate from everyone else? So I feel like being an Eagle is going above and beyond, working, separate yourself from someone else. And we all have that. It's just willing to look at it and believe in it and feeling it, and then boom, bringing it to the client. So
Yes. Amen. That's exactly right. Good point.
Yeah.
Well, thank
Thank
you. And
you.
congratulations on your success and what you're doing. And I wanted
Thank
all
you.
the ladies on the phone, on the call here today to hear that, because you're setting up your business. And I'm really proud of you.
Thank you. And happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Anybody else have any questions for me today? Maybe any questions about the subject matter, or any question? Miles?
Just a comment. You had encouraged me to read Proverbs and how it relates with the day. And so in Proverbs 19, there was a line there: get all the advice and instruction you can and be wise the rest of your life. And it so relates to your call, Joseph, and everyone on here. I thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Miles. That's a great comment. And, one of the things that I want to encourage you guys, and you don't have to do what I do, but make it work for you. But I find quiet time in my day where I can really focus and take care of myself. And so the way I do it is I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. And from 5 till about 9 o'clock, that's 4 hours. I actually get up at 4:45 so I can really start at 5. So from 5 till about 9 o'clock, I have 4 hours of uninterrupted time. I don't look at my phone to see who's trying to text me or who's on Facebook and who's doing all this stuff. I'm just zeroed in on my readings and my meditation and my prayer and my planning for the day, or what I need to get done. I might be looking at a bank account or something if it's business or whatever. And boy, by the time I'm ready to go at 9 o'clock, I've gotten more done than most people get done in a day's work. And it's all about your planning and your schedule and your use of your time. We all have the same amount of hours in a day, just like Wally driving the cab. Everybody has the same amount of hours driving the cab that Wally has. But why is Wally extremely successful? Because he does things different. You know, he's an eagle. So I hope that's your takeaway today. Thank you for joining me today. God bless you guys. I want you to hang on just a minute, but thanks for joining me today.